Here we go. On Friday night, the 2025 Women's Rugby World Cup kicks off. You now have a very small window to build your fantasy team, so this video will hopefully help you make your selection decisions. For the first time ever, we have a Women's Rugby World Cup fantasy game. It comes from the makers of the 2023 Men's Rugby World Cup fantasy game, who also make the Super Rugby and Rugby Championship games. Now, I won't go into massive detail as to the rules of the game in this video, as I covered it in much more detail, and I also covered some winning strategies in a video I released earlier this week, and there's going to be a link up there. But very quickly, these are the high-level points you need to know. So the official Women's Rugby World Cup fantasy game, which can be found at play.world.rugby/fantasy, is a salary cap style fantasy game. You have a budget of $100 to fill your team with 15 players. You must pick one hooker, 2 props, 2 second rows, 3 back rows, 1 scrum half, 1 fly half, 2 centres and 3 outside backs. One really important point to note is that there are 3 boosters that are available for the Women's Rugby World Cup fantasy game. This is slightly different to the boosters in place for the Rugby Championship and Super Rugby games, but the same that were in place for the Men's Rugby World Cup. These are the triple captain, where your chosen player will have their match score tripled, super kicker, which will score double points for some kick related metrics, and defensive pro, which will get double points for some defense related metrics. You get to play 3 in the pool stage and 3 in the knockout stage, and as there are only 6 stages in the whole entire tournament, you can basically play a booster in every round. And I'll be coming on to players that I've got in mind for the boosters later on in this video. Make sure you join the Fantasy Rugby Geek League. The league is filling up really nicely. The league pin to join is ZN875VEX, and the direct link to join is in this video description. Now, speaking of leagues, I've set up the Fantasy Rugby Geek League, but I've also got a second very special prize league for the Women's Rugby World Cup on the official game. If you watch my guide to the game video, you'll know this, but please consider joining it. It's a prize league in aid of my friend and podcast partner, Paul, who needs urgent open heart surgery. So to help raise funds, I've set up a prize league for both the Rugby Championship and the Women's Rugby World Cup. The entry fee to join the Women's Rugby World Cup League is £10, and the prize will then be distributed 25% to the league winner, 15% to second place, and 10% to third place, with the remaining 50% going directly to Paul's GoFundMe page. To join, just get in touch. You can email me at fantasyrugbygeek@gmail.com or DM me on the FRG X or FRG Instagram channels. I'll share details of the PayPal, and if you send me the entry fee, then I'll send you back the link to join. Okay, back to the tips. Now in this video, I'm focusing on players who should go well with the scoring format for the official game. There's a maximum of 3 players that you can select from any one nation in this game. So that's going to make things very difficult. And at the end of this video, I'm going to go through some value options, some cheap options that you can do. But also in each position, I'll look at some additional options that you consider if you've maxed out your allocation of one nation in the other positions. So if you're struggling for options, make sure you watch on till the end. Firstly, a quick run through of all the matches that we have for round 1 in the Women's Rugby World Cup, kicking off with England versus the USA on the Friday night. Then on Saturday, we got 4 matches, kicking off with Australia v Samoa from Salford. Then we got Scotland versus Wales immediately following in the same stadium. We got Canada versus Fiji in York, and then finishing up proceedings on Saturday, we got France v Italy, the battle of the 2 Six Nations teams. Moving on to Sunday, we got 3 matches, kicking off with Ireland versus Japan from Northampton. This is followed by South Africa versus Brazil, again in Northampton. And wrapping up proceedings on the Sunday is the reigning champions New Zealand taking on Spain. Okay, so now a quick run through of my recommended picks for round 1. These are the top fantasy players in each position in my opinion. You'll need to blend these with some value options that I'll be covering later in the video. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll add some additional options in each position, just in case you are struggling with the 3-player maximum. Also, one very big caveat, this is being done before all the teams have been announced. And so the New Zealand, South Africa and Ireland players in this list are not confirmed. Keep an eye out for the announcements, and I'll add any changes in my strategy after the lineups to the comments here. Okay, starting from the top with the props. Kicking off with Maud Muir of England. Only 24 years old with an amazing 44 caps. Muir is a top-class scrummager, but also a true danger in the loose with 6 international tries to her name during the 2025 Women's Six Nations with 169 metres carried. She almost carried 1 metre every minute she was on the pitch. Next up is Linda Jagang of Ireland, a genuine try machine. Jagang is unstoppable from close range, and many will remember her 4 tries in this year's Six Nations, the most of any prop, and second equal to only Abby Dowell in the whole tournament. Finally, we also have Vabawa Lacher of South Africa. Lacher is exactly the kind of hard scrummager you would expect from South Africa. She's also got a real attacking edge with 6 international tries in 35 appearances. Some additional players to consider at prop if you're struggling with the 3 players per nation constraints include Hannah Bottoman, Asia Kalfui, Olivia De Marchant and Tanya Kalunavale. Into the hooker position, kicking off with Amy Cockayne of England. England's maul is a relentless weapon, and on plenty of occasions it's been Cockayne who's been try-scoring beneficiary. Cockayne has an unreal 37 tries in 84 international appearances, and it would not be a surprise to see her add to this against the USA on Friday night. Next up is Niamh Jones of Ireland. Jones has been consistently in the top level of tacklers in the Women's Six Nations for the last few years, and her all-action style always converts to fantasy points. In addition to an amazing tackle record, Jones has 12 international tries to her name, and she's always a scoring threat. Some additional options at hooker also include Georgia Ponsonby, Manon Bijoux of France, Catalina Hermosa of Australia, and Gillian Berg of Canada. Into the second row now, and we start with Sophie de Goede of Canada. De Goede is a double threat, both as an outstanding all-round performer in the second row, but also as an elite goal kicker. With her kicking skills, she may well become one of the most popular selections in the game. Next up, we have one of the genuine stars of the Women's Six Nations this year, Mané Fallou of France. Whether it was tries, line-out steals, carries, tackles or offloads, Fallou was in the thick of the action throughout, and you can be sure this will be the case again for the France captain at the Women's Rugby World Cup. And then finally in the second row, we've got Maya Roos of New Zealand. Like Fallou, Roos is an astonishing all-round talent who can deliver both in attack and in defence. Additional options in the second row include Madusu Fall-Raclos of France, Courtney O'Donnell of Canada, and Jordana Duca of Italy. Into the back row, Georgia Miller of New Zealand. A sevens convert, Miller is an outstanding athlete who'll be racking up the turnovers, but is also more than capable of getting on the score sheet. Then we have Evie Gallagher of Scotland, priced at just 4.5, which I'm convinced must be some sort of administrative error. Gallagher is an absolute steal, a brilliant carrier, try-scorer and tackler, and a truly world-class operator at the breakdown. And then finally we have Aseza Hele of South Africa, another great value option at just $5. Hele is an explosive ball carrier who will be punching holes in any defence she'll come up against. Some additional options to consider include Zoe Aldcroft of England, Alex Matthews of England, Liana Michaeli-Tui of New Zealand, Alex Callender of Wales, Tiani Fallou of France, and Tabua Tawina Kalvadra of Australia. Moving into the backs and kicking off for the scrum halves, first up we have Kira Bevan of Wales, an excellent sniping scrum half, but also an elite goal kicker. Bevan will be kicking sticks for Wales and be a great pick for extra kicking points. And then we have Nadine Ruiz of South Africa, a highly versatile option and a recent convert to scrum half, having also played full-back and fly half previously. Ruiz is the absolute heartbeat of the South Africa team, will be pulling the strings against Brazil. Some additional options to consider at scrum half include Alexandra Chambon of France, Justine Pelletier of Canada, Iritana Hohaya of New Zealand, and Samantha Wood of Australia, as well as Mo Hunt from England. Onto the fly half position, kicking off with the brilliant Ruahei Demant of New Zealand, an outstanding all-round talent. In just 45 appearances, Demant has scored 11 tries and kicked 37 goal kicks. She's going to be in the thick of things against Spain. And then we have Zoe Harrison of England. She'll be kicking the penalties and conversions for England against the USA, of which she should get plenty, but she's also a great attacking option with an unreal 7 assists in this year's Women's Six Nations. She's expensive, but worth taking the budget hit for. Looking at fly half as well, we have some additional options to consider. We've got Libby Yanti van Rensburg, Vitala Maleka of Australia, and Dana O'Brien of Ireland. Into the centres, and the first pick is England's line-breaking star Meg Jones. Jones's running lines are a work of art. You can guarantee that she's going to be breaking the US defensive line and either getting a try for herself or setting up a teammate with an assist. Then we've got Florence Simons of Canada with just 5 tries in 12 international appearances. Simons has exploded onto the international stage, and her first World Cup, she's going to be looking to make an immediate impact. Alongside Simons in the Canada midfield is Alex Tessier. This is her 3rd World Cup, and she's a highly effective operator that's going to be pulling the strings in the Canada back line. Additional options in the centres include Gabby Vernier from France, Marie Menage also from France, Georgina Friedrichs from Australia, Stacey Wacker from New Zealand, and Aleph Kalter from the US. Finally into the back three then, kicking off with Portia Woodman-Wycliffe of New Zealand. Woodman has been a try-scoring machine throughout her career, and she's returned after her short-lived retirement in outstanding form, including when she scored an astonishing 7 tries in one match against the USA earlier this year. Then we've got Ellie Killdunn, likely one of the most popular picks in the game, and the World Rugby Player of the Year. Killdunn is a world-class attacker who's going to gain huge meters as always, beat defenders for fun, and will get on the try sheet again and again. Next up is the top try scorer from the 2025 Women's Six Nations, Abby Dow. Dow scored 6 tries in the 2025 tournament, but also carried more than any other player with 606 metres, and she also beat 20 defenders. And then finally we've got Braxton Sorensen-McGee of New Zealand, one of the most exciting young talents in the world right now, a lethal runner who will beat defenders for fun and will be getting on the try sheet throughout this year's tournament. Definitely one to watch. Additional options in the back three start with Fancy Bermudez of Canada. We've got Birandre Dolph of South Africa, great value. Morgan Bourgeois on France, likely taking kicks. We've got Maya Stewart of Australia, who's just in insane try-scoring form. Jess Breach and Bevan Parsons of Ireland. Okay, now on to the boosters that I mentioned at the start of the video. This is who I have in mind for each of the boosters if I was to play them this week. Kicking off with triple captain, and these can also be strong, just general captain options. Portia Woodman-Wycliffe of New Zealand, just an absolute try machine. You can guarantee that she will more or less get on the try sheet in every match she plays. Ellie Killdunn in England, probably the most popular captain pick this week, well worth considering. And Abby Dow of England, again, an absolute try machine. A reminder that the triple captain, you get your points tripled if you select them as your captain. Then we've got the super kicker option. Super kicker gets extra points for any penalties or conversions they kick, but also they get minus points for any conversions and penalties they miss, something to consider. The 3 players I have in mind here are Sophie de Goede of Canada, Zoe Harrison of England, and Ruahei de Mant of New Zealand. And then finishing off with the defensive pro, who get extra points for any tackles or turnovers they make. So for this, I've got Evie Gallagher of Scotland in mind, also Erica Jarrell CSC of the USA, who should be kept very, very busy with her tackles against England. And then finishing up with Jordana Duca of Italy. A reminder that each booster can be used once for the pool stage and once for the knockout stage, giving you the opportunity to play a booster 6 times. So you can basically play a booster in every round. This round, I've got my eye on the super kicker booster. I'm really set on having a triple captain in round 2, and I'll likely use the defensive pro in round 3. Finally, onto the value picks. So now in the official game, not only is budget really, really tight, but you must select a maximum of 3 players from each country. Here's a list of some great value options that won't break the bank. Kicking off with Tiana Robber-Nakadavu from Fiji, the prop's available for just $3. We've got Anna Mamea of Samoa, also available for $3. Moving to the hookers, we've got Catalina Amosa of Australia, great value at 4.5. Another good option at hooker, super cheap, is Batala Tawaki of Fiji. Into the second row, Marioni Nakasa, also of Fiji, available for $4. Into the back row, Evie Gallagher at 4.5, probably is the bargain of the tournament. Another great value back rower, and one of my favourite picks is Aseza Hele of South Africa, available for just $5. Leah Brebner Holden from Scotland, scrum half, available for $4, one of the cheapest players in the scrum half position. Libby Anti van Redsburg, again, one of the cheapest starting fly halves at just $6. Emma Raw is insane value, a great option, $5.5 there. Also Eloise Webb of South Africa should go well, $5.5 there. And then finally in the back three, Birandre Dolph is amazing value, $5 available. She should go really, really well against Brazil. And Elisa Peki Delaweu of Fiji, one of the cheapest starting back threes in the game, available for just $4.5. So I really hope that was helpful. More details can be found over at fancy-rugby-geek.com with my full round 1 picks post. And if you want to see my full team reveal, then head over to my membership site at buymeacoffee.com, where you'll also be able to share your team with me for direct feedback on any changes that I'd recommend. Also, absolutely make sure you check team lineups on Friday. As I mentioned earlier on, this video has been done before all teams have been announced. So make sure you double check those lineups tomorrow before you finalize your team. Make sure you give me a follow on all the FRG social platforms. I'm on X, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok and Instagram. Follow me for breaking fantasy news. And yeah, just sign up to the game today. Please join my leagues, especially the prize league for pool. You You can find the links to all the leagues in my description. The Women's Rugby World Cup is an absolutely amazing tournament, and fantasy is one of the truly best ways to build engagement in the sport. So enjoy the rugby and good luck.